I've set the game up for 4 players. We've got green in the bottom left, red, blue, and yellow. And they've started off with the number of ships that they're given, which is 2 scouts, 2 cruisers, 2 dreadnoughts, and a monitor. The monitor is unable to move. It's just for home system defense. I passed out special power cards for each player. So green got the send ships lost in battle against you or your power play to the time warp, which is that thing over there, which is going to force the other players to basically purchase their ships back if they want to rebuild them. Yellow got amoebas eat only one of your ships in battle. So rather than having 2 ships be destroyed by amoebas, yellow only has 1 ship destroyed by amoebas. Blue has, you may use up to 6 ships to attack space amoebas in empty solar systems. Normally you're only permitted 5, so blue has a better chance of, winning those solar systems. And red has special monitors, which can move and attack just like other types of ships. So red's monitors can move. All the other players' monitors have to remain stationary. So the game starts, you have to conduct 4 amoeba attack campaigns. And I'm not going to film all of those because it would be, frankly, probably pretty boring. But I'll definitely show how one works. So a single amoeba attack campaign, you take a die, roll it, you got a 3. You look for systems that have the same number of planets as the die roll, in this case 3, and have an amoeba in them. And actually, in this case, there aren't any because all those inner systems have more than 3. So that's one of the 4 attack campaigns. We'll go again. We got 2. There's one of those. We'll go again. We got a 4. There we go. There's a 4. All right. So there's 2 systems that have a 4 in them. These 2 orange systems. They are color coded, so you can kind of tell just by the color how many planets are in a system. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take randomly these two chits from here because there's 2 systems, and place them without kind of looking at them on each system. Then that will determine which system then actually has its amoeba spread first. I'm not really sure why you do this because amoebas never spread into systems containing other amoebas, so I don't know really what the purpose of having to do them in a specific order or determining an order for them is, but whatever. So what you do now is for each system, starting with the highest number, you roll a die, and any neighboring system equal to or lower than that number of planets gets an amoeba. So in this case, all 3 neighboring systems to this one get an amoeba because they all have 3 or fewer planets. And again, remember, any circular thing in the hex is considered a planet for purposes of all this. All right, so that's that one. Now we roll a die for this guy. He got a 6. So likewise, every adjacent planet is going to, or every adjacent system is going to get an amoeba. So that was 3 amoeba attack campaigns. I guess I'll quickly do another one. 2. Of course, now you've got more systems that may have amoebas in them. And in fact, we have 2 systems that have 2 planets. So we'll draw 2 random chits. I guess that's a 6, not a 9. Well, actually, there's one of those and one of those. Nice. Well, whatever. We'll say it's a 9. We'll do that one first. This guy rolls. He gets a 2. So only the red system will get an amoeba. This one over here is going to roll. He gets a 3. So also only the red system will get an amoeba. So that's how the amoebas spread. And this was 4 consecutive attack campaigns, although 2 of them kind of fizzled at the beginning because there weren't any systems that had that number of planets. Now the players begin their turn by laying out cards starting with the starting player. I do have to deal 3 cards to every player, and we'll do on the first turn you pick a player to go first. After that, in subsequent rounds, the player who played the highest card in the previous turn leads off in the power play. So I'll just choose green since he's closest to me. He's got 3 cards, 32, 26, and 22. 32 is Activated Doomsday Machine. That basically allows him to select one of the Doomsday Machines and then cause it to move 1 space, but it's a random move, so it'll head off in some direction. And Doomsday Machines only affect players, and they attack them as if they were a ship of strength 4. So that one's not particularly useful right now because everybody's equidistant to the Doomsday Machine. This one lets you zap an amoeba, so you can basically take out a space amoeba. this is actually pretty useful for him because he's got an amoeba right on his doorstep. So it might make sense for him to play that card. There's also a laser beam attack. Basically, you choose a system containing enemy ships, or I guess an amoeba. Roll a die and add 2 to it, and if it defeats the defensive roll of either the system or the player, it does some damage. Either kills the amoeba, I guess, or destroys a ship. Let's see. Player may select any one enemy spaceship or doomsday machine on the board as a target. Oh, okay. So you can't do it against an empty system. You just have to do it against the doomsday machine or an enemy. So that one, again, isn't particularly useful at the moment since everyone's kind of on an equal footing. So he'll play that Zap an Amoeba card, which will help him. So play will proceed to red. Red has all low cards. Red's cards are 5, 14, and 3. So he can acquire 2 dreadnoughts, acquire a cruiser, or also acquire 2 dreadnoughts. Now remember, every other player is going to get to use these cards if he does the low one. So he's going to save the 2 lowest, I guess, and play the acquire 1 cruiser at this point. Blue has 2 must-use cards. Now again, that doesn't mean he has to play them now. It just means that if they get played, nobody can ignore them. He's got an amoeba attack and a double amoeba attack. And again, you know, maybe it makes sense to play one of those because the amoebas are closer to some of the other players than they are to him. So he might be able to get an amoeba to actually, you know, maybe even, you know, attack the home system of green. So that might be a useful thing to do. Now this amoeba attack is does an attack campaign, so he doesn't have any control over which system the amoebas will attack from. It'll be done just like we rolled at the beginning of the game. There is a card that lets you provoke an amoeba, which basically allows you to choose a specific amoeba and have that amoeba make attacks against all neighboring systems. So this one's a little bit more of a broad use, but why not go ahead and try that just for fun? So that's card number 40. And finally with yellow, yellow also has an amoeba attack number 41. He can hyper jump 7 points worth of spaceships, so basically take them someplace else to another system. That could be very useful for conquering one of the 2 empty home systems, because we're only playing with a 4-player game. And then he also has this one here, which is a very interesting card. It says, each Space Lord uses only the card he played, plus yellow would get to acquire a Battlestar and a Dreadnought. That's pretty cool, because everybody else plays cards with the expectation that, you know, they may get played. People may play high cards with the expectation that they're going to get to play off of other people's low cards. So this one sort of throws a monkey wrench into those things, so why not go ahead and do that? Because those ships are pretty useful, although again, when you're attacking empty or amoeba systems, the quality of your ships isn't particularly helpful. In fact, having the higher quality ships and losing them to that kind of a battle is not that useful. But anyway, so he'll play that, and everyone groans. And blue does his amoeba attack, so he'll roll a die. He rolled a 1. So actually, there are 2 amoebas in systems that have a 1. Oh, there's our 6/9 again. All right, so this one will go first. It will attack. It attacks at a 4. So it is actually going to attack that one, this one, which is successful, and this one. And an amoeba attack causes 2 opposing ships to be destroyed. So this guy, right off the bat, green, is going to lose 2 of his scouts, but the amoeba is destroyed. Then you go over to this other amoeba over here. He rolled a 2. There is a 2 next to him, which is this one. So now that one's got an amoeba. So that was pretty useful for blue. He just put a little bit of a hurt on green, and also is starting to box in yellow with the amoebas. So that's it for him. Now he does his actual turn, because he doesn't use other cards, other players, because of this card played by the yellow player.
So I'll go ahead and make the moves for the other players, and we'll see where things end up.
All right, I did all the players except for yellow. We'll take his turn now just so we can kind of see how a turn goes. His card was, well, each Space Lord uses only the card he played, and he acquires 1 Battlestar and 1 Dreadnought. So he gets a leg up on production of some more powerful ships. So he'll take a Battlestar and a Dreadnought. With his 2 build points from his home system, he'll build a couple more scouts, since they're the most useful for taking empty systems or amoeba-controlled systems. And then, let's see, blue sort of is expanding toward that other home system. Red, likewise, is moving that way. Green had lost some ships, so he's kind of behind everybody at this point. And he's also got an amoeba problem. So, from yellow's perspective, this system is more vulnerable to amoeba attacks, possibly, than this one here, because it's got fewer planets. This guy's special power is amoebas only eat 1 of your ships in battle, so instead of losing 2 ships to an amoeba, he only loses 1. So it's kind of tough to say where he wants to go. This is a 6 strength system, so conquering it might be a little difficult, but there's also 2, well, that's also the case over here, I guess. But this puts him in, somewhat contact with green. Although green is kind of weak at the moment, so it's probably worth doing. So we'll allocate 5 ships to the attack and attack this system of 3 planets. So 5 plus our die roll of 1 is 6. 3 plus a die roll of 5 is 8, so that's a loss. So he loses 1 of his attacking ships, so we'll take out a scout. And he can allocate another ship from among his pool in the system and go again. So 5 plus 3 is 8. 3 plus 4 is only 7, so he's successful. And he can move any number of ships into this system as long as he leaves 1 in his home system. He does not have to move the 5 that he specified, for the attack. But since they're all... I'll probably better off to leave a scout back here in case this system gets attacked by an amoeba. And maybe let's move, a Dreadnought. Maybe the Battlestar, why not? There. Battlestars look suspiciously like the Death Star. Okay, so he's got 6 ships in that system. He can make an attack and try to get into this green system for some added production on the next turn. Though that would stretch him a little thin with amoebas around. He only loses 1 ship to amoebas though, so as long as he keeps 2 in a system, he's probably fairly safe. So let's go ahead and try an attack. So we'll allocate 5 ships, maybe not the Battlestar, everybody else. And we roll 5 plus 6 is 11. The defending system rolls a 5. Ooh, fortunate. And he conquers it because it's 5 plus 5. So he'll move Scout, Battlestar, just to keep green honest, and maybe his Dreadnought and a cruiser. And then his card also gets put aside. So now everybody draws new cards, and the player who played first, or played the highest card, I should say, which was blue, will start the next round. So green gets another Activate Doomsday Machine. At least he's got some high numbers, because he needs to be able to build some ships. Yellow, or actually I guess this belongs to red, if we're going clockwise. Hyper Jump, 5 points worth of ships. Blue gets to acquire a cruiser, to go with his other acquire a cruiser. And yellow gets to acquire a Dreadnought. So then they'll play another round. And essentially the game, goes like that. I'll play through a couple more rounds, and once we get into a situation where there's either a Doomsday Machine being moved or 2 players attacking one another to where you can see ship versus ship combat, or maybe any other amoeba attack campaigns will come back. Finished up the second round, and I'm now on the third round. Red moves some ships toward blue, who is encroaching on his territory. He's got quite an armada there. And he actually played an amoeba attack for his card, and that's the high card this round. So he's going to cause an amoeba attack. So we'll go ahead and begin that. Let's roll. He doesn't have any amoebas really near him, so it's actually a pretty decent play for him. So he rolled 6, which is the sort of yellowish color like that. So the amoeba campaigns will go there, there, and there.
That's all the 6 strength systems, right? Yep, okay. So first is this system here, number 7. We'll roll. He rolls a 1. So there is an attack against yellow over here. Yellow only has he has special armor, so Amoebas only eat 1 of his ships instead of 2. So he's good there. And there are no other 1 strength systems, so that attack is complete. The 4 over here will go next. It rolls a 1. Actually there weren't any systems adjacent to that anyway that he could have moved to because they all already had Amoebas, so that one's resolved. And now this 3 over here, he rolls a 4. So we've got some spreading of Amoebas going on to that system, and to that system. So blue's going to lose 2 ships to the Amoebas. Also, one thing I failed to mention, blue did lose a ship to the Time Warp due to a laser beam attack by green last turn. And what's interesting about that, I went back and read the rules to that. Basically, if you have a certain type of ship sent to the Time Warp, it costs 1 extra build point to remove that ship from the Time Warp, and you can't build any of that class until you get them all out of the Time Warp. So in this particular case, a Dreadnought was sent to the Time Warp. So if blue wants to build a Dreadnought, he has to spend 4 points instead of 3 to get this one out and put it onto the board before he can build any from his stash. Now, this does not affect the acquisition of ships by the play of power cards. So if anyone plays a power card that gives you a free, ship, that doesn't apply if that type of ship is in the Time Warp. So there goes the Amoeba attack by red. That was card number 39. Card number 32 is Activate Doomsday Machine. So we'll go ahead and do that. Essentially, you pick, let's see. Yeah. Activate Doomsday Machine. Oh, that'll be on this card here. Okay. The player may select one of the 2 Doomsday Machines to activate. If the selected machine is not on the board, it's placed in Seistor. Well, there's already one there. Moving into any adjacent solar system of his choice. If the solar system has ships, the Doomsday Machine will attack them at a strength of 4, as in ship-to-ship combat. Oh, so this one lets you sort of determine which way the Doomsday Machine is going to go. So this is red making this decision, and his current nemesis is blue. So he's going to move the Doomsday Machine, toward blue, but not also toward himself. Well, maybe we'll put it here. Now it's only 1 space away from maybe being able to attack blue. So that's it for that. He goes down to card number 18, which is Hyper Jump 4 points worth of ships. 4 points is not a lot. I mean, you could do 4 scouts and send them somewhere. You can also hyper jump within your own, empire. You don't have to make an attack, but if you do choose to attack a system, the ships can't retreat, so they have to hyper jump and then fight until they die or until they conquer the system. So I'm not sure if there's really much use in hyper jumping. Again, you could try to take a second home system, which really doesn't, it gives you 2 build points, but lots of systems do that. The main reason for taking a second home system is if you were to happen to lose your original home system, you could still build ships because you're in possession of a home system. Although it doesn't seem like red is in much danger of losing his home system. So probably he's going to skip that hyper jump. And he also gets to use card 13, which is to acquire 1 cruiser. So he can take a cruiser out of wherever. And it looks like he might be able to attack blue now. Blue lost a couple of ships over here to that Amoeba. The problem is the Doomsday Machine is kind of knocking on the door there. And green is not particularly happy with blue at the moment for all the Amoeba attacks that blue launched on the previous turn. So red is probably hoping that green, when it comes time for his turn, will also activate that Doomsday Machine and send it against blue, which is probably what green would do. So red is going to decide not to try to conquer that system. He'll stick his cruiser over here. Now he's got, let's see, yeah, 4 build points worth of productive capacity. So he can take a look at the different things he's got. He just got a cruiser. I'll take another 4 scouts. See, that's the thing about this game is at this point in the game, it's typically almost always better to take scouts as cannon fodder for taking the for conquering the empty systems. Now, red does have special monitors. That's why his monitor is sitting in this system. His monitors can move and attack, so that's another reason why he feels pretty safe in that spot, because monitors are immune to amoebas. Of course, he's got a lot of other ships sitting there that he might want to get out of that spot. So for an attack campaign, why don't we go ahead and launch an attack campaign of 5 ships. We'll make it 5 scouts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against this adjacent system with a strength 4. So we'll roll a die for the ships. 5 plus 2 is 7. We'll roll a die for the system. 4 plus 4 is 8. So that's a loss. So he loses one of his ships, but he's got more where that came from. So let's give it another try. 5 and 5 are 10. 4 and 2 are only 6. So he conquers that system. And we'll move in enough scouts to take the brunt of any amoeba attacks, and maybe a cruiser. Maybe another cruiser. This system's pretty safe back here, at least for the moment. Now the question is, does he feel strong enough to want to go for this yellow system? He could do it and then only move 1 or 2 ships into it if he conquers it. Because he probably wants to keep a decent number of ships here to avoid having his empire cut in half. But he's not really sure what's going to happen with that Doomsday Machine yet, so it might make sense to hold off. Blue does not look like he's in any kind of a position to be able to put up enough force to hit that spot. So probably makes sense for red to just let it go. He gets a free move. I don't know that he's really going to do much on his free move. He's fairly happy with where things are sitting at the moment. You kind of always want to have at least a couple of ships in a system, because if someone does play a laser beam attack against you, you don't want to have a single ship there and have it be destroyed, and then it might cut your empire in half, and you won't get production. You won't be able to build or get production for those outlying provinces until you reconnect your empire.